Okay, welcome back to the last video of this part. As I explained in the last video, we need to break up the action commands, because obviously we've got two actions. We've got an equip and we've got a remove action. So I've encased this in a switch statement with the cases of equip, and under the equip case we have all the code which then equips the item to the player, and down here we've got an empty remove case. So removing is going to be pretty much identical to where we removed an item during equipping an item if the player has already got an item on. So in this part here, as you can see, we are adding another item to the table, to the player items table, and updating their stats to reflect the removal of that item. So I'm going to, it is literally going to be a duplication of this. So I will code it out and then we'll go through it. Okay, so this is really all the code that's needed to remove an item. What we're first doing is we are taking the ID of the item that we're removing, which we gain right at the top here, and we're adding it back into the player items. And again, we're inserting a value into the database, into the table, except if it's on the duplicate key, we update it and we make the quantity equal the quantity plus 1, and we're executing that query. We're then selecting defense, strength and type from the game items where the ID equals the ID, and we're storing all that information in the item stats variable. And if the item stats type equals armor, then we're only affecting the armor side of things. Excuse me. We're updating the players table and setting the user's defense to the user defense minus the item stats defense, like we did originally on the removal of equipment when we're equipping items. And then we're updating the player equipment table and setting the armor slot to 0, where the user ID equals the user ID. And we're executing that query and then just updating our user stats of the user defense to show the change. And then else if the item stats type equals weapon, we're doing the same thing but with the user strength. And on the player equipment table, we're updating the weapon slot to equal 0. So we can now go back and test it. So we just come to our page here. So if we remove the armor slot, we'll remove the steel armor, and we should gain, this should drop by 8 points. Our defense should drop by 8 points, leaving us with 12 altogether. Steel armor should turn back to nothing, and we should gain another quantity. We should gain 6. We should have 6 in the steel armor quantity, and that remove link should vanish. So we go to remove, and nothing's happening. Hold on. Okay, I know what I was doing wrong, like I do quite a lot. I was referencing a variable just called ID, the item ID here, and the ID here. I was calling up a variable of ID when in fact it was item ID. So we come back over, and we've got our weapon. We have our armor slot, steel armor, defense of 20, and our strength has gone weird for some reason. Oh dear. Anyway, so we remove our steel armor. That should drop back down to 12, and our steel armor should go back up to 6. So we remove that. Our defense has gone back down to 12, steel armor up to 6. Our armor slot contains nothing, and that remove label, the remove icon has gone. And again with the weapon slot, sets to nothing. Our dagger quantity has gone up, and our strength has gone back down to 12. We can again equip longsword and remove the longsword. Equip longsword, equip thin armouring. Remove the longsword and remove the thin armouring, and it all works fine. So I'll leave it there. So that is our equipping items in part 5 complete. Next, what I'll probably be doing is we'll start looking at shops and selling items for gold and buying items for gold. I'm not going to look into player shops just yet, or any kind of selling items to other players, players selling items to players just yet. But I think that's what we'll look at in part 6, is the shops. So, like usual, if you have any suggestions, come over to the Tapt-In forums and in white label tutorials. We have a topic there, white label suggestions. We've already had one suggestion made here by Nexus. He says, I'd love to see a clan guild system implemented. So maybe at some point we'll be able to do that. But I'd always like to hear other suggestions being made as well. So until the next set of videos, see you then.